Crazy day.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I was reading one of these things. A federal prosecutor says Trump was determined to remain in power, Gaydos, in conspiracy that targeted the bedrock function of the United States federal government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election. Determined to remain in power.
I agree. Don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happened. We're being told, and, I guess some people are going to believe it and some people aren't, that behind closed doors, he knew that he lost. And the close people, his inner circle, said, Mr. President, you've lost. It's time to stop all this nonsense. And he basically got, 5 or 6 people with him, and they conspired to have January 6th and, put out this false narrative that the election was stolen, and it wasn't. And there hasn't been a court case that proved it was stolen, not a single one. And I think what happened was it gave birth to all these grifters who, in 2022, when we had the midterms, couldn't find a Republican in a lot of places.
No.
That were Republicans. They were grifters, and most of them lost, especially in Arizona.
Across the country.
I
mean, you go look at it. There's a reason that, you look and you see, how did a Republican stronghold or a place that leaned Republican, how did you not hold on? How did you not grow the Senate and win the Senate? How did you not blow out the Republicans in the the Democrats in the
red wave was nothing.
There was nothing. It was absolutely nothing. And now...
Right. But it all stemmed from this.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It all stemmed from this, and Donald Trump was at the head of the table on this one. So, how do I look at this? All right, well, I'm an independent, but I don't like Trump. I've told you that before. I've been very honest. When he was running for president the first time, I told everybody on this radio station for months he was going to win, and everybody thought I was crazy. I was right. But I thought he ran a great, a great campaign and deserved to win the presidency. And, not to relitigate everything, but he did some good stuff. He did some bad stuff. But, after you lose an election, after you get up there and you get everybody riled up and then they go and they storm the Capitol, I'm done with you. And as I've said many, many times, almost, I know you're getting nauseous about it. I'm never going to vote for someone who is one of these election deniers. I'll never do it. Ever, ever, ever. I'll never vote for someone like that because you're a fraud and a liar. And I just won't do that. And so, I'm not going to go home and have a glass of champagne because Donald Trump's in trouble. I don't live my life like that.
No.
I don't think this is good for America, by the way, at all.
It's horrible for America.
But that being said, Trump should be charged for trying to overthrow the 2020 election. He does deserve to be charged for overthrowing the 2020 election. And again, these are allegations. He can have his day in court, but I think he should be charged. I think what he did almost brought democracy down. And it was a scary time. And as I've said, what if he wins? Well, in 2024, I don't think that's the question. I think the question is, what if he loses?
Yeah.
Because if he loses, then you've got a caged lion, an uncaged lion, I guess you should say.
Who knows he won't be running again.
Right.
And desperate.
What will he do? So
we'll find out. It's going to be it'll be interesting going forward, looking at the co-conspirators. And I think one of the things that's not being pointed out is, remember, Rudy Giuliani in what will be the next indictment, which is coming from Georgia, has already put it in writing that he was lying. And he knew he was lying when he accused several workers there of stealing the election. So that isn't going to help him across the board because, once these guys get in a room, too, and you're facing down potential jail time, as we all know, man, people start to get worried. They start to flip.
And I talk to a lot of Republicans, some, friends and stuff like that, and people in the media. And when it always goes to Trump, some of them just say, we just got to move past this thing. Can we just move past this thing? And I say, well, that's up to you guys. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm a skeptic. It's up to you if you want to move on from Donald Trump. It's not, the Republican voters, have this in the palm of their hands. They can figure out if they want to move on from him. And if you don't, well, then you're going to back a guy who's going to have at least 4 indictments in court all the time. How do you really think he's going to run a campaign? How do you think if he wins, he's going to run the presidency or run the country or the world? he's not fit for office, Chad. He's just not anymore. And we could talk about Joe Biden, too. Joe Biden's not fit for office either. It's just a different way. Joe Biden, I hate to say it, but Joe Biden's mind is not what it used to be. And that's a fact. Guy can't get 3 words out. So he's unfit in one way. Donald Trump is unfit in another way. And it's all of these indictments that are coming out. And it's criminal.
They're criminal indictments. There's no doubt about that. It's and I've wondered this. There's 37% of people who are with Trump all the time. That never really expands. It goes down to 35, maybe up to 38. Mm-hmm. But it never the tent isn't getting any bigger. How many of them really believe, you know what? I love Trump, but it would be better if he wasn't around. But they're afraid to say it because they don't want the tribe to turn on them.
Okay, so who are we talking about?
About the Trumpers who love Trump.
We're talking about a voter.
Yeah, the voters. Okay, the people who love Trump.
Let's take an Arizona voter. So someone out there who's listening and you're a big Trump supporter. Okay, so you kind of want to move on, but what? You
recognize that, look, the best thing is that we move on from this.
See, I disagree with you. I think that 37%, I don't really think they want to move on. I think you have a lot of Republicans who want to move on, but if you're a Trump supporter and you're a MAGA all the way, I don't think you want to move on.
No, that may not be it.
I think you're more emboldened to vote for this man even after today. I think that 37% isn't going down.
No, and he'll come out and say they're not coming after me, they're coming after you. And I've said this over and over again. I didn't take documents.
No,
and I wasn't there on January 6th.
Did you sleep with a porn star and cheat on your wife? No, you didn't do that either.
No.
Okay, so and again, was that the biggest one of the indictments? No. It talks a lot about his character
for me, I really don't. I don't. That I could care less about in this situation.
I'm moved on from that.
These two are serious. Those other things, that's a personal issue.
But even the classified documents, Chad, it's one that I could look at and say, all right, we got a guy with just a massive ego who wanted to show his friends what he could have.
And he even said, I was being braggadocious. And I don't know what comes. I think the classified documents is the least of worries. I think this is bigger.
This is way bigger.
This is way bigger here.
It's not even close for me. I throw the Stormy Daniels thing out. I'm done with it. Mar-a-Lago and the classified documents. It's a guy who wanted to brag. And that's not right either. But other presidents have taken classified documents out. But then I move on to this January 6th, then overturn the 2020 election. He deserves to get nailed for this. He does. He does. I think he's very guilty there. The other stuff, I don't really care about. This one, that's a big one. You're talking about American democracy.
Pence pushed back in a major way, which he basically told him, no, you didn't win these things. Right. You know what I'm interested? What do you think Kushner and Ivanka are thinking right now? Because they have really distanced themselves over the last.
I think they know what happened.
Well, I think that. Well, I mean, Jared Kushner obviously did because he went in there. Right. Remember when Jack Smith was talking to him? He's like, "Look, I told the guy you lost. It's time to get over it, and I'm out."
What is the penalty if he loses this one? Could he go to jail, and for how many years? We'll talk about it next.